Welcome to the second season of FHS Season Tickets. I'm Michael.
And I'm Max. And in this show, we will be previewing many different awards, predictions, and other college football news.
This will be a special show as it is a full preview of the upcoming college football season. For every major conference, we will predict the top 6 teams or top 3 per division. And for some individual awards, our opening conference will be the ACC. The ACC is divided into 2 divisions, so we will pick the top 3 per division. Max, who do you think will be the top 3 in the Coastal Division?
I'm going with Georgia Tech, Pitt, and North Carolina. Georgia Tech is led by quarterback Justin Thomas, who came off a very good 2014 season, and they returned 6 players with starting experience on an offensive line that helped Georgia Tech finish second in the country in rushing yards. Georgia Tech also returns 8 starters from a young defense. Pitt is led by Tyler Boyd, a receiver who is one of the best in the country, along with James Conner, who is a massive running back who ran for 1,700 yards and 26 TDs last year. And the defense should be improved under new coach Pat Narduzzi. And North Carolina should be strong in the season with quarterback Marquise Williams, who led the team in passing and rushing.
Those are some very good choices, but I believe the top 3 teams in the Coastal Division will be Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, and Miami. Georgia Tech will look to run away literally and figuratively with this division. Their triple option offense attack is led by quarterback Justin Thomas, like you mentioned before, and he will have good experience, but their main problem will be filling in the gap at running back. But Coach Paul Johnson has always had a strong ground attack, so it shouldn't be much of a problem. Virginia Tech will also be looking to bounce back from a rough season, even though they beat eventual national champions Ohio State, and I think they have a talent to have a nice bounce-back season after they were a perennial power and have been down the last couple of years. Finally, I think Miami will have a good season. Even though they lose star running back Duke Johnson, they still have speed and talent across the field.
Those are some interesting picks. And in the Atlantic Division, I have Clemson, Florida State, and Louisville. I believe Clemson wins the conference due to the quarterback question at Florida State, and Clemson has one of the better young quarterbacks in the nation in Deshaun Watson, who I expect a big year from. He returns a big receiving target in Mike Williams, who's 6'4", 210, who caught for 1,000 yards last year and 6 touchdowns and will create mismatches with his size. The other receiver, Artavius Scott, returns, who also had a 900-yard season and 8 touchdowns, and their leading rusher returns. The defense only returns 3 starters and will have to replace guys like Vic Beasley and Grady Jarrett up front. Florida State has a very talented roster once again, but the quarterback question is still in doubt. I believe Everett Golson will start because he has won at a high level at Notre Dame and is great if he doesn't turn the ball over, but that's a very big if. Dalvin Cook was poised for a big year, but he added to the many off-the-field problems with Florida State and is suspended, but was just found not guilty, so we'll see how that plays out. The defense is in better shape than the offense, led by Jalen Ramsey, who is one of the better cornerbacks in the nation, along with 6 other starters. Louisville returns quarterbacks Will Gardner and Reggie Bonham, along with leading rusher Brandon Radcliffe, but they lose their top 6 receivers.
Those are some nice picks, and I also think this is the year that Clemson will finally take over the division with star quarterback Deshaun Watson leading Dabo Swinney's offense. I still think that Florida State will come in second, as they have tons of talent all across the field, but I question if any of the Seminoles quarterbacks will be able to lead them into a second straight college football playoff appearance. In third, I have Louisville, as they should have another solid season, adjusting to life in the ACC. My final thought about this conference is that if no team really goes unbeaten in this conference, they could very likely be left out of the college football playoff. Max, do you think that's a strong possibility?
I think it's a very strong possibility because the only real candidates are Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Florida State, and they all have to play each other, so that eliminates 2 of them. But now we're going into the Big Ten. Michael, who do you think are going to be the top teams in the East?
I think that Ohio State will retain the East Division title as they are the most complete team in college football. In second, I think that Michigan State will have another strong season with Connor Cook leading the Spartans' offensive attack. And in third, I think Penn State should have a nice season with head coach James Franklin having another year to adjust to life in the Big Ten. I think star quarterback Christian Hackenberg should break out this year if he can stay up on his feet, even though they do have a below-average offensive line in Happy Valley. Max, who do you have in the top 3 in this division?
I'm going with Ohio State, Michigan State, and Michigan. Ohio State is without doubt the best team in the nation, in my opinion, no matter who starts at quarterback, as both have proved they can win big games. Ohio State has way too many playmakers on both sides of the ball with the likes of guys like Joey Bosa, Zeke Elliott, Jalen Marshall, Mike Thomas. I could go on all day, and especially now with Braxton Miller line up at receiver. I don't really see Ohio State winning a regular season game at less than double digits. Michigan State will be very good again, but it'll be interesting to see how they replace guys on offense like Jeremy Langford and Tony Lippett. The defense will be very good again, led by defensive end Shalik Calhoun. I think Michigan finishes third due to the Harbaugh factor. Jim Harbaugh is a very interesting guy and a very good coach, and I think he has his team going in the right direction. Brady Hoke always had talent at Michigan, but was never able to develop it into anything. Penn State is not far off, but they will have to fix the offensive line woes for Hackenberg to be as good as he can be. In the other division, I'm going with Wisconsin, Nebraska, and Minnesota. Wisconsin loses one of the best college running backs I've ever seen in Melvin Gordon, but Corey Clement becomes the number one back after a season just shy of 1,000 yards behind Melvin Gordon. Running back won't be the problem, as both quarterbacks that return threw more interceptions and touchdowns. Nebraska returns 13 starters from last year with a new coach. Tommy Armstrong should improve on a good 2014 season, and Imani Cross replaces Amir Abdullah, which will be a tough task, but Cross has shown flashes of being a good player. The defense loses Randy Gregory, but it should still be a strong unit. Minnesota loses stars David Cobb and Max Williams, but will have a good defense. Mike, who do you have in the West?
I think that Wisconsin will make a return visit to Indy looking for revenge against Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. I also think Minnesota will have a very solid season with a very strong defense. I think Nebraska takes a step back after firing Bo Pelini. I really don't think that was a good move. And hiring former Oregon State coach Mike Riley. But the major story out of the Big Ten is who should start for Ohio State at quarterback, J.T. Barrett or Cardale Jones?
I'm going with Cardale Jones because he has all the momentum right now after that unbelievable playoff run. And he has been completely healthy all through spring and summer. JT is coming off a big injury to an ankle that is on the same leg as I believe it was bum knee, but it should lead Ohio State again the year after this one.
I also think Cardale Jones is the man to start for Ohio State, as I believe his experience in playing in the big games, first against Wisconsin in the Big Ten title game, and also the two college football playoff games, the biggest scene in college football. He played remarkably, and J.T. Barrett's biggest games are at home against Virginia Tech, at Michigan State, and at Penn State. Those aren't the type of games that Ohio State is going to be playing in this year, or hope to be playing, as they look to make a return visit to the college football playoffs. So I think that Cardale's experience should give him the upper hand in this battle. Max, who do you think will be the top teams in the SEC East?
I'm going with Georgia, Missouri, and Florida. Georgia has Nick Chubb, who's one of the best running backs in college football, coming off a 1,500-yard season when he started only 8 games due to Todd Gurley's suspension and injury. A big question mark is at quarterback. Bryce Ramsey is likely to become the starter, but he has only thrown for more than 10 passes in a game once. He is battling Virginia transfer Grace Lambert, who was not very good at Virginia, and will face a much harder defense. The defense returns 7 starters, including the whole secondary. Missouri should be a good team again. Matty Mock returns at quarterback after coming off a good 2014 and should be even better this year. Leading rusher Russell Hansbrough comes back from a 1,000-yard season. The defense loses a whole defensive line, but that hasn't been a large problem recently for Missouri, as they have had some great pass rushers and guys like Shane Ray, Michael Sam, and Sheldon Richardson. I think Florida will be improved on their new head coach, John McElwain. The offense returns wide receivers Demarcus Robinson, who had a pretty good sophomore season. I believe he'll be even better. Matt Jones and Kelvin Taylor will be the running backs coming off decent 2014s. Quarterback remains a question, as I believe former 4-star Will Grier will start over Treon Harris. The defense is led by Vernon Hargraves, who I think is the best cornerback in the country.
Yeah, I think Georgia will win the SEC East, finally taking Missouri off the SEC East throne. I think Missouri will stay a strong team and finish in second, as they seem to overachieve every single season since they have joined the SEC, with very good coaching and being a very organized unit altogether. In third, I think that South Carolina will have a bounce-back year with head coach Steve Spurrier being a little bit on the hot seat. And I think Tennessee, just like you think as well, because you're not having them in your top 3, have a disappointing season with poor quarterback play, Joshua Dobbs. But Max, who do you have in the SEC West?
This was hard because this is the best division in college football, but I'm going with Auburn, Alabama, and Ole Miss. Auburn and Alabama will be a close battle, but I see Auburn taking the crown. Jeremy Johnson has the potential to be a great quarterback due to his size and athleticism. Wide receiver Duke Williams will be one of the best receivers in the conference as he becomes the number 1 target. Replacing Cameron Artis-Payne at running back will be challenging. The defense will be very good this year, led by defensive tackle Montravius Adams and defensive end Carl Lawson. The secondary returns 3 starters. Alabama is one of the best programs in the country, led by one of the best in Nick Saban. Running back Derrick Henry is one of the best backs in the country and will have a huge year now that he doesn't split carries with T.J. Yeldon. Quarterback and wide receiver remains a big question. Jacob Coker is battling with number 1 quarterback recruit Blake Barnett along with former 5-star David Cornwell, and I see Cornwell winning. Amari Cooper leaving is huge as their top returning target is tight end O.J. Howard. The defense will be great with 8 starters and the whole defensive line led by Ashawn Robinson returning. The secondary will be very good again, led by Cyrus Jones and Geno Smith. And I see linebackers Reggie Ragland and Reuben Foster having big years. Ole Miss returns 10 starters on offense, including Laquan Treadwell, who was having a great year until it was ended by injury in late October. Evan Ingram will have another big year at tight end, and Laramie Tunsil is one of the best offensive tackles in the country. The defense will be strong again, led by Robert Kemdichi and his brother Denzel and linebacker Tony Connor. Texas A&M, LSU, and Mississippi State will also be good teams in the best division.
I think that Auburn will be winning the SEC West as well, as they have star quarterback Jeremy Johnson leading the Tigers' attack. I have Alabama in second place in that division, as Nick Saban still has talent all across the field, but not in the one spot where they need it most, quarterback. I think this position will let them down, and they will fail to make a repeat appearance in the college football playoff. The SEC West is such a difficult division to predict, with every single team having a strong case for being in the top 3 or 4. But I think LSU will get that 3rd spot and have a solid season, as they have star running back Leonard Fournette leading the Tigers' attack on the ground. I also think LSU has the talent and depth over teams like Mississippi State and Texas A&M, and I'm also worried about too much pressure on Arkansas to finally perform, as I think they might be a year away from being serious SEC West contenders. I also think Ole Miss will struggle without former star quarterback Bull Wallace, as I don't think Chad Kelly is good enough to lead them in the top 3 in this division, even though they have playmakers like you mentioned with Quad Trenwell at wide receiver. In the end, I think this will be the best battle in history in the division to not finish in the bottom part of it, as all 7 teams have top 20.
Yeah, the SEC West will be fun as always to watch and see how it plays out. But Mike, who do you have in the Big 12?
I think that once again, Baylor will win the Big 12 over TCU. Baylor returns many offensive starters like Shock Linwood, but they will need to replace star quarterback Bryce Petty. But new quarterback Seth Russell should fill in nicely, as he has been a part of Art Brow's program for the past 3 years. He was seeing guys like RG3 and Bryce Petty light up Big 12 defenses, and I think he can do the same with star wide receivers KD Cannon and Corey Coleman returning. Russell also has experience, as he replaced an injured Bryce Petty against Northwestern State, where he threw for over 400 yards and 6 total touchdowns in only one half of football. He's also very fast, as he runs a sub 4.50 40-yard dash. That's faster than some wide receivers. That's incredible. Baylor also had a very underrated defense last year. Even though they played in the Big 12, Sean Oakman and company held opponents to under 30 points 9 times last season. In second, I have TCU, as they will be led by star quarterback Trevon Boykin. The Horned Frogs will be looking to make the college football playoff this season, as they were left out, as were their in-state rivals Baylor, and I think they do just get left out this year, finishing behind Baylor in a tough Big 12 at the top. In third, I think that it will be Oklahoma, as they struggled finishing the season after having high hopes to start the year. In fourth, I have Texas with new coach Charlie Strong, hoping to get Texas back into the national relevance. In fifth, I think Oklahoma State will have a strong offense once again, but their defense is lacking this season once again. And finally, in sixth, I think Kansas State finishes there, as they seem to always exceed expectations, and Coach Bill Snyder will be looking to have his team not take a step back after losing many starters. Max, who do you have in the Big 12?
I'm going with TCU over Baylor, followed by Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. I'm going with TCU over Baylor due to TCU having Trevon Boykin as one of the best players in the country. Boykin is electrifying through the air and on the ground, as he has leading receiver Josh Doxson returning after a big 2014. The defense returns 5 starters from a unit that allowed only 19 points a game last year. Baylor is a very close second. Baylor returns 9 starters on offense, including Shock Linwood, Katie Cannon, Corey Coleman, and Spencer Drango, the offensive tackle. First-year quarterback Seth Russell shouldn't have a tough transition with all these weapons. The defense is led by internet sensation defensive end Sean Oakman, coming off a season with 11 sacks. The whole secondary returns with him. Oklahoma is next, led by running back Samaje Perine, who comes off a great freshman season in which he ran for 1,700 plus yards, including a game with 427, which is an NCAA record. Transfer quarterback Baker Mayfield will take over with leading receiver Sterling Shepard back. The defense is led by linebacker Eric Stryker, who had 17 tackles for loss and 9 sacks. Texas looks to get back on the map under Charlie Strong, and I think they're going in a good direction. The offense is led by quarterback Tyrone Swoops, but he doesn't have much returning skill around him. Only 4 starters return on the defense, so if the newcomers have a smooth transition, this will be a solid team. Oklahoma State is behind them in 5th. Oklahoma State returns 7 offensive starters, but will have a first-year quarterback at the helm in Mason Rudolph. The defense returns defensive end Emmanuel Ogba, who had 11 sacks the past year, but as Mike mentioned earlier, is not a strong suit. West Virginia will have Skyler Howard as their quarterback in his first year. He will receive help from running back Russell Shell, who comes off a decent sophomore year. Shelton Gibson from Cleveland and Vernon Davis Jr. look to replace Kevin White, the very good receiver that was drafted, 7th in the NFL draft?
Yeah.
The defense returns 9 starters, including linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski, who led the team in tackles. Now we're going to the Pac-12. Michael, who do you have in the North?
I think that Oregon retains the title in the North Division, and as they have the speed and playmaking ability all across the board, and transfer Vernon Adams, if he's eligible, should be able to fill in nicely for a Heisman winner, Marcus Mariota. In second, I think that Stanford will have another strong season. Coach David Shaw should keep the Cardinal very strong this season. And third, I think Washington will finish there. Head coach Chris Peterson knows how to win, and I think that the other teams in the division have a little bit more question marks. Max, who do you have in the North?
I'm going with Oregon, Stanford, and Cal. Oregon loses Marcus Mariota, but gains Vernon Adams from Eastern Washington in the FCS, who lit up the FBS teams he faced. He is the perfect guy for this Oregon offense. Running back Royce Freeman returns from a stellar freshman season where he ran for almost 1,400 yards and 18 touchdowns. Byron Marshall returns at receiver after a 1,000-yard season along with Dwayne Stanford and Braylon Addison. The defense returns defensive end DeForest Buckner, who will likely be a first-rounder in the NFL draft, but it has to replace the whole secondary. Stanford will be good once again. They return quarterback Kevin Hogan, who had a good 2014 and is well-experienced. Christian McCaffrey, Barry Sanders Jr., and Raymond Wright make for a strong running back group behind 4 offensive line returners. Stanford's defense is known to be good, but has a lot of holes to fill with only 4 starters returning. Cal, I believe, can shock some people. Jared Goff has turned into one of the better quarterbacks in the country. He put up ridiculous numbers last year, throwing for almost 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. They returned 3 of his top 4 wide receivers and an 1,100-yard rusher, Daniel Lasco. 9 starters return on a defense that needs to be much better this season. In the South, I'm going with UCLA, USC, and Arizona State. I'm going with UCLA over USC because they returned 10 starters on offense, including Paul Perkins, who ran for 1,500 yards and 9 touchdowns. Quarterback will be Josh Rosen, the top incoming freshman quarterback, and I think he will do great with all the returners. The defense is led by Miles Jack, who is one of the best overall players in the country. You see him line up at running back, too, where he averaged 4 yards a carry, along with 87 tackles on the defensive side. Eddie Vanderdoes is also one of the best defensive linemen in the conference. USC is led by Cody Kessler, who comes off a great 2014, but he loses every starting skill player around him. The defense will be very good, led by safety Su'a Cravens and corner Adoree Jackson, who is also a big-time playmaker on special teams and offense. Arizona State is coming off a great 2014, but there's tons of holes to fill on offense. They lose Taylor Kelly and Jalen Strong. Kelly is replaced by Mike Bercovici, who had to step in when Kelly missed 3 games last year. He did a good job filling in and threw the Hail Mary that beat USC. The defense should be very good with 9 returning starters. Mike, who do you have?
I think that the Pac-12 South is the second best division in college football, with 4 teams in the top 25 in this division. One would have to be left out, and I think that team is going to be Arizona. First place, I think, will be USC, with Cody Kessler looking to have another amazing season, but hoping for a better record for the team. Head coach Steve Sarkisian is looking to lead the Trojans to their best season in recent memory and bring the Trojans back to the national relevance that they deserve. I think they barely beat out in-state rivals UCLA for the division win, as UCLA should have another strong season, but losing star quarterback Brent Hundley will hurt the offense, as potential new star Josh Rosen, being a true freshman, could have some learning curves, especially with the conference play starting with Arizona, Arizona State, and Stanford. We will quickly learn if UCLA are real contenders long before their highly anticipated clash against rivals USC on November 28th. And third, I think Arizona State will barely beat out in-state rivals Arizona for that spot. Even though the Sun Devils lose star wide receiver Jalen Strong, they should be a strong offensive team scoring lots of points. Now we will be going into our Player of the Year predictions for each major conference. In the ACC, I have star Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson, and as he should be a very good player for the Tigers offense. In the Big Ten, I'm going with Ohio State running back Ezekiel Elliott, as he returns from a very strong sophomore campaign leading the Buckeyes to the national championship. In the SEC, I think Auburn quarterback Jeremy Johnson will have a breakout year, as there really isn't that many playmakers in the SEC besides Nick Chubb and also Leonard Fournette. In the Big 12, I'm going to go with Baylor quarterback Seth Russell, as he should have another strong year. He should have a strong year leading the Bears attack. And in the Pac-12, I have USC quarterback Cody Kessler, as he had a very solid year last year, but maybe didn't get the recognition he deserved, as USC was not good as in previous years. Max, who do you have?
In the ACC, I'm saying the same as you with quarterback Deshaun Watson. I think he has a very good year. In the Big Ten, I know for a fact at the end of the year it's going to be an Ohio State player, but I'm going with defensive end Joey Bosa. I think he has another very dominant season. In the SEC, I'm going with Georgia running back Nick Chubb. I believe that he has an even better season than last year. In the Big 12, I'm going with quarterback from TCU, Trevon Boykin. He is a very entertaining player, and I'm excited to watch him put up big numbers. In the Pac-12, I'm going with Arizona linebacker Scooby Wright. He took almost every postseason defensive award home last year, and I think he has another great season.
And now we're going to make our Heisman picks, and I think Clemson quarterback Deshaun Watson wins that, as he should be able to lead the Tigers' attack, and I think he just has a really strong breakout campaign for Dabo Swinney. Max, who do you have winning the Heisman?
I'm going with Georgia running back Nick Chubb. He had a great season last year, and as I've said like 3 other times, I think he's going to have an even bigger one.
Now we are going to be going into our college football playoff predictions. And the first team I'm taking to make it to the college football playoff is Ohio State. The Buckeyes are fresh off a national championship appearance where they beat Oregon in the national title, and I think they can get back to the college football playoff for a second straight season. My second team is going to be Auburn. They are led by quarterback Jeremy Johnson. I think the Tigers have a very strong attack after a little bit of a disappointing previous season. And then the third team is going to be Baylor. They were very close to making the college football playoff last season, but unfortunately for them, they just couldn't get in, as them and TCU, their interstate rivals, were both left out of the college football playoff. I think this year is the year that the Big 12 gets a team into the playoff, and I think Baylor is the team to do it. And my fourth team is going to be USC. The Trojans are led by quarterback Cody Kessler, and I think that head coach Steve Sarkisian is bringing the Trojans back to national prominence that they were in the early 2000s. Max, who do you have making the college football playoff?
I'm going to agree with you on Ohio State and Auburn. I think Auburn is very talented and has the ability to get there if Jeremy Johnson plays well. I think Ohio State is by far the best team in the country. And then I'm going with Notre Dame. Notre Dame is kind of my surprise team. They have a deep roster this year and a very good defense, and it will all depend on Malik Zaire, who starts his first season at quarterback. And I'm going with TCU. TCU, again, was right on the bubble of the college football playoff, but they got left out with Baylor. And I think Trevon Boykin and company don't let that happen again.
Yeah, and now we're going into pretty much like the normal Week 1 show, where we are going to be starting off with our upset special. Our upset special will be worth 3 points, and my upset special is going to be Bowling Green upsetting Tennessee. There aren't really any upsets this week, so this is kind of hard to predict, but I think Tennessee is very overhyped, and I think that Bowling Green has a very strong chance of upsetting the Volunteers in Week 1. Max, who's your upset special?
I'm going with Northwestern over Stanford. You know, as Mike said, there's a lot of bad upsets this week. I can see Northwestern somehow winning it, but I really couldn't tell you how.
Yeah, and TCU plays Minnesota, and we both think Tevin Boykin starts off his Heisman campaign off well with a win.
Washington plays Boise State. Who do you have in this game, Mike?
I think Washington can get the upset in this game, starting off their season well.
I think Boise State wins on the blue turf.
Louisville plays Auburn, and we both think Auburn gets a solid victory to open their season.
Arizona State travels to Texas to play Texas A&M, but the game is in NRG Stadium, home of the Texans. Mike, who do you have winning?
I think Arizona State will do it. They travel to a much easier place to win than Kyle Field, and I think that Arizona State are just a better team overall. Max, who do you have winning this game?
I'm going with Arizona State too, but I think it could be a shootout as both teams have some strong offenses.
Yeah, Kyle Allen leads that strong Aggies attack, but Texas travels to South Bend, Indiana to play the Fighting Irish. Max, who do you have winning this game?
I have Notre Dame because I think they're better overall, and I think they're very talented too.
I have Notre Dame winning this one too, as I do think it will take a little bit of time for Charlie Strong to fully get the Texas program where he wants it, and I think they will struggle to beat a very talented Notre Dame team.
Wisconsin plays Alabama at AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play in a marquee matchup week 1. Who do you have winning this, Mike?
I think Alabama wins another opening game, but they might struggle a little bit more than some people think with new quarterbacks. Could be a very low-scoring game.
I have Alabama. I don't think Wisconsin plays very good against big physical defenses like the Ohio State defense in the Big Ten title game.
Yeah, they got pushed around that whole game, but Ohio State travels to Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, Virginia to try to get revenge on Virginia Tech, as they were the only team to take down the Buckeyes in last season's national title victory. And we both think that Ohio State starts off their national title defense with a win, and that will wrap it up for this episode for Season Tickets. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe for more Season Ticket videos.